Welcome, visionaries. Oh, that's always fun. Visionaries and change makers to Lead with LeAnn. We're off to a booming start. It's tax day. Let's be fair. I was up late last night. Welcome to Lead with LeAnn, where we navigate the waters of business with heart and purpose, airing every week at 2 p.m. Pacific time. That's 4 p.m. where I am, Central Time, on winwinwomen.tv. I am LeAnn Lyon, your Chief Joy Officer and Business Strategist of Joy Minder, here to empower you with strategies, insights, and a splash of fun. Each week on Lead with LeAnn, you'll join me as we delve into the inspiring stories of established leaders and innovative entrepreneurs. We'll uncover just what it takes to build a brand from scratch, lead with authority and grace, and turn business aspirations into tangible success. So anchor down, set your sails, and let's dive into the art of joyful leadership. Get ready to be inspired because your journey to business brilliance starts right now. So today we're going to welcome to the show the beautiful and wonderful, not quite yet. Today we're going to dive into the power of the mind. I'm thrilled to introduce Carmela Tunzi, a master of transformation and a clinical consulting hypnotist with 2 thriving clinics in Los Angeles. Carmela and her team at Sherman Oaks Hypnosis are on a mission to help folks kick negative habits to the curb and chase after their ultimate goals. What does she like to do in her free time? Whatever. Her motto is, thinking is not our friend because foresight is more important than forethought. Sounds to me like live in the present, but that's my thought. So let's bring her on stage now and ask her. Hello,
Hi, LeAnn. Wow, what a great introduction. I loved it. Um,
Carmela.
so much fun. Yeah,
Well, so are you. I
thinking thinking
so
is not our friend. I agree.
yeah,
So
talk a little bit more about that.
so as a clinical consulting hypnotist, what we know and what we know to be true is if you want to experience something in your life like growth or change, you have to start with the vision. So when they say people need to be visionary, you're not thinking in obstacles. And in order to achieve the things in life that we want to have, perhaps we want to have a vision first. So what does it look like? What would it be like if you actually could hear the sounds happening around you? What kind of feelings would you get if you anticipate that? I'm sure this audio, this production that you put together had something like that. Perhaps it was like a problem and you wanted to solve it. And you said to yourself, how do I get out to reach women or people that can change or experience growth? What do I need to do? You had the vision. And after that, by asking the right questions, then you're able to help people transform and grow and connect and all sorts of things. So, yes, that's the simple answer to perhaps what you were asking as far as a question.
You know what? I'm gonna double down and say yes, because thinking isn't what got me here at all.
Mhm.
It was gut reaction. And actually, when I had a YouTube channel and I had YouTube videos, and I thought that was the way I was gonna go, and then one day I didn't. It was all gone.
Mhm.
And I thought, what do I do now? And so 10 days later, I had a live audience and I was in front of a live audience. And I started doing live audience presentations every, I think, 3 weeks for about a year. And then finally I thought, you know what? Live audience work is great. It's also a lot of work. Get there early, set it up, make sure the tech is working. I mean, it was taking up almost a full day every 3 weeks. And I love doing it, but it just wasn't, I thought I could do more. And here I am. So
Right,
you're right.
right,
But I wouldn't have thought my way into starting this. I
right,
really wouldn't have.
right. Yes, it's something that we call modeling. So, for example, if you know someone that's already doing what you like, or you perhaps perceive as a useful outcome for yourself, you mentioned YouTube. I love that. So you looked on YouTube, you saw people perhaps reaching different sorts of people with the right tech, and then asked the right question. What do I need to do in order to achieve that sort of result? So in modeling, when we talk about modeling, we pick, if we're talking about business and we say, look at a business model that works for you. That's how franchising sort of works. If you're working with the idea of emulating a positive behavior, when I'm working personally with clients, I'll have them, if they want to get out of stress, for example, do you know anyone in your life that actually goes through stress without stress? And what is it that they actually are doing? How do they wake up in the morning? What can you imagine that is the first thing, an action step that they take? And then perhaps imagine jumping into their body and experiencing the world with sort of the feelings that they would be having as they walk through life. And so it becomes a very powerful tool for connecting. I love in the introduction, you said anchor, anchor your seat. And that's
Catch
a
your sails. Yep.
excellent, excellent word to use, because we're anchoring all these experiences and stimulation around us at all given times.
So my question is, somebody doesn't have stress, why do they get out of bed in the morning? Because, to some degree, there's healthy stress, not just unhealthy stress.
So the word why is kind of a tricky question. If you're starting from a place of excellence, let's go to and look at the huge guru that he doesn't want to be called guru, but Tony Robbins, and he will ask at his height, ask the why. Find out why you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be careful with the why if someone is experiencing a low. Because if they're in a low and ask the why, then sometimes the answers will spiral down. So the better question in our observation is, what do I need to do in order to achieve that? What kind of experience does that person that doesn't have stress do? What do they do and how do they do it? And then you'll take on the habits and the emotions of that person by asking that question.
Wow, fabulous.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it's something you know a little bit about.
Just a little.
Just a little. How long have you been, I mean, not to age out, wait.
No, no, no. I had a previous career. I don't know if I mentioned it to you before. I stumbled across NLP and hypnosis in 2011.
Okay.
So it's, a good amount of time, but more than half my life, I was doing another career entirely. And I'm happy to, share that with you if you're
I'm
fun,
interested.
if you're
Please.
curious.
Oh,
It was sort of an easy transition. I guess many people confide to their hairdresser, don't they? So I was working in Beverly Hills previously, my previous lifelong career, in a hair salon doing color and working with some celebrity and all that fun stuff. Yes, I see. So it was kind of like I wasn't looking for the transition. It just sort of happened. Started, becoming interested in hypnosis and how our thoughts and our conversations in our mind affect our outcomes.
there.
But yeah, that kind of happened on its own organically. I wasn't seeking to do.
You started as a hairdresser. You were a very
Yes.
successful hairdresser.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah. So when she said that, I know the video doesn't always show both of us at the same time, but I was kind of like playing with my do. It's
Yeah.
it's
It's
in the midst
lovely.
of
It's
changing some.
lovely. I can see the transitional color coming through.
And I do love it. It really truly is. It's a blessing. First of all, it's just a blessing. Um, I every time I get to do self-care, whether it's hair or nails, just got my nails done, I just count my blessings. I realize that it's absolutely a gift to be able to do that. It's I'm grateful. And at really tough points, I haven't done it, of course.
Sure.
You have to pick and choose what you do and don't do, but yeah, I also think about, the women that I choose to work with, and I'm very, very, very loyal. Um, how many stories they have. And I just talked with I was literally there 2 hours ago. And
Yeah.
she said, yeah, after 30 years of biting my tongue, when people start getting into things that, I can't talk about or can't talk with them about, I
Mhm.
said, You must have so much knowledge. I mean, I can't even begin to imagine what she could do if she wanted to get out of doing manicures."
Right. It's this connection. It's a very intimate place, like especially holding someone's hand. I mean, I was
Or
working
feet.
their head, listening to their stories. Um, I would imagine holding someone's hand right there, you're energetically kind of connecting.
Mhm.
And yeah, you become intuitive. If you're really in rapport with the clients that you're helping, you actually can sense whether they're feeling well or not feeling well. What used to happen to me all the time would sometimes people would come up to me and say, "You look familiar. Have we met before?" And I can't tell you how many times that happened. What I learned later on is unconsciously I learned to match and pace people's breath rate. And it was unconscious. I was mirroring the person in front of me on a deep level. What happens automatically is that person feels in sync with you. And so that's actually a skill that we teach people that are wanting to learn how to gain rapport and communicate better with the world, to client, whether it be clients or salespeople, et cetera. But I had the raw experience to kind of learn this on my own, just because I was a hairdresser for so many years. And that finally answered the question why so many people would come up to me and say, "You look familiar. Have we met before?" And so that's what happens on an unconscious level. And she probably is experiencing that as well, like hearing the stories. And in this case, you can't tell people what to do, right? As a hairdresser, I learned not to ask the right questions that would get people talking, because I knew that it was out of scope. And sometimes people change and they don't want to talk about 3 months later, an ex-boyfriend, because they've moved on. So it was more like being a sounding board without really, getting paid for the therapy. But yeah, a little different now in my world.
Yeah, I was grateful. Both of these women that to some degree consider a friend. It's a professional relationship, but there's, when they do think, hey, did you ever get your Facebook? So my last show talked about Facebook disappeared on me at the
Oh,
beginning of March. My 15-year Facebook account went
oh,
down. And
oh,
the reaction that I had to that was very, very, very different from the reaction I had when my YouTube channel went down. The
mm,
YouTube one, I became physically sick that
wow.
the same day. I mean, very sick. The YouTube one, I was disappointed.
Yeah.
Huge difference in the words between actually threw up to felt
Yeah.
disappointed.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, and the story is kind of fascinating because I got it back.
Yes. I
20.
I don't know what happened, but I had heard distantly that some people had that happen, not just you.
Oh
Thank
yeah.
it didn't happen to me. I didn't have any issue at all.
Oh no, it wasn't related to anything. No, somebody actually
Oh,
stole my account.
oh, okay. Because
Stole
I
it.
had heard something in a general thing had happened. That's even
No.
worse.
Facebook did briefly go down like
Yeah.
a few
Okay.
days after my thing got stolen. A
Okay.
lot of people suddenly thought that they were hacked, and it was just that Facebook was briefly down. It
Okay.
it went back up. A lot of social media went down that day.
Yeah.
Conspiracy theories went wild. It was awesome.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Um, but no, mine actually got hacked. Somebody in Taiwan hacked it, started putting up posts about how Taiwan is the best,
Oh
and
no.
asked me if I would give them $200 to get my account back.
It's very scary times. Yeah. I have a client who's an attorney. Um, they started posting that they bought land in Texas. As this woman has a beautiful home in Laguna Niguel. I don't know if you're familiar. And I was very curious. I was like, wow, well, Texas. I wouldn't see her going there with her husband, who was a pilot, but I thought, hey, who knows? And I did get a message from one of her friends saying, please don't engage with that. They're very dangerous. They're promoting cryptocurrency. And I immediately texted her just to make sure that even the friend was legit. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, Carmela, thank you. Yes, that's not me. And don't engage." And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just I don't even know how they do
When did
that.
that happen? Was it recent?
Yes, not long ago. Within
You might have her take a listen to what my recording was. Last week I walked A to Z, what
yeah,
I did, what I didn't do, and I still don't have a clear, absolute answer as to why I got it back. But 26 days later, one day I just said, I'll try logging in again, and I could.
it worked. Yeah.
So that
I will.
somebody,
I'll send her. I'm happy to do that.
yeah.
I had a different but similar experience with my business Facebook page. A year and a half, I was not able to advertise
Oh,
um, because, well, Facebook wanted me to send my bank statement, which made me uncomfortable. And so I kept going back and forth with saying sending snippets of the account, the payment to Facebook, my last ad payment, and that didn't work. And then after a year and a half of feeling stuck, I finally sent them. They wanted the whole month, and I sent it to them, and boom, they repaired my Facebook business
interesting.
page. But up until then, I was not able to do any kind of additional promotions. However, even though I have control, nonstop, nonstop spammers
Oh,
are
yeah.
messaging me that my account's gonna be taken down if
Yeah,
I don't.
I see that. I report those people.
I do
I
too.
report them.
Yeah.
Um,
Unfortunately, it's not the
So
same.
another, just because we're on the topic, and so buyer beware, but another thing that happened to a friend of mine is that his personal account, somebody set up an ad account for that he doesn't have control over. It's not his credit card, but they
Mm,
set up an ad account attached to his Facebook account. And now Facebook won't let my friend advertise because this other person has run up a bill
wow.
without a card attached to it. Or, so somehow they put attached a legitimate enough card and
Right.
ran it up. And
They're
now,
not paying it. Somebody else's poor person probably.
so how in the world somebody can attach an ad to not their account, I don't know. I was even Facebook verified. I have the little check mark
Yeah.
and nowhere for me to go. There was no one for me to talk to. I was supposed to be verified and my
That's the
account was gone for
problem is
6.
the lack of human connection.
What?
Thank you for
What?
bringing it round circle. Here we are connecting. That's what is needed in today's world, whether it be online, whether it be in person, trainings we were talking about earlier. It's the human connection. We don't want robots or bots to talk to, or, you know, yeah.
All that said, I do
Yes.
find when I asked AI to help me write my intro, it did a pretty good job.
I approve. I approve. Yeah,
So,
there's something
because
about
I like
colorful
coding.
language.
What's up?
Yeah, colorful language is beautiful. Yes.
It's very colorful. It
Yeah.
is very colorful. And I think that's why people are like, I can spot it a mile away. And I'm like, I know, but it
We just
doesn't make
don't
it
want to take away from the artists or their voices and not have the wonderful, brilliant people that are talented in writing and that being taken away from them as well. So
for
yeah,
sure.
I stand behind the artists for sure in that end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. So Tony Robbins, that's how you learned NLP, right?
Well, not really, but he was an introduction. I will tell you, I quit smoking 25 years, 24 years, 25, something like that, using his method, but not for stop smoking. It was some audio that I had listened to on changing bad habits. And I took some of the NLP exercises, and I want to credit him because that's where I, kind of piece this together,
Mm-hmm.
utilize that strategy to get me to stop smoking, not knowing that years later I was going to be doing this at all, at all.
Right.
But so, yeah, I didn't know what NLP was. I had no clue. I just thought he was just a motivational speaker. And as he broke down the steps, I was like, I could use it that way. And then years later, I found out, oh, well, that's actually a real skill. That's
I'm
called
going to show you
anchoring.
something very old.
Ah, yes.
So right behind me, you can see right above me, actually, right now,
Yes.
is Tony Robbins' Certificate of Completion. I not only went through his whole life mastery university, but also through his leadership training, which
Yep.
is where I got all of these.
All the goodies. Yep.
This is like every technique that he was using at the time. And these are our training cards for like what to do and how to do it. And I've used this as well with my kids, with
Uh,
clients. I help somebody stop smoking.
Good for
Um,
you. Yeah. See, it's all teachable. And that's what I talk about when we talk about modeling. So modeling the techniques and changing them to your desired outcome.
mhm.
Absolutely.
But
Cool.
I will say, it's best to go with somebody who's trained in it. Don't like, not necessarily going to pick up a book and teach yourself how to do this. There's just a lot that can be done more efficiently with a professional.
Well, there's something to be said about feedback and mentorship and modeling. Like even with the business model that I hold, it's not my development. It was my trainer, Scott McFall, who after 30, 40 years, being out in the industry and documenting the successes and how it works, whether it be marketing or helping clients, that's what we're taught and emulate. And so that's kind of how that works with Tony too. Like he's successfully modeled what was useful, how his training, taught him and how to reach out to people. Yeah, it's a really cool story. His story
Yeah.
is really cool.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And you're in Los Angeles, not that far from his, mansion. Um,
I've never thought to go visit. That's
you
interesting.
have not?
Oh,
Nope.
no,
No, I have not either. Although at one of the trainings, I think there was an opportunity to go, and I just something, needed to fly back out or something after.
yeah,
Would have been kind of interesting. I
it's
still do occasionally, I think it's good to do some checkups. I've done now they've launched Unleash Her Power Within. And I have taken part in that. I found that extraordinarily valuable, kind of as a reset. As they say, what got you to here won't get you to there.
mhm.
So whatever's gotten you to whatever point you're at right now, it's probably going to take something else to get you to whatever next level that you're looking to get to.
Yes. It kind of circles back for me when I hear you say that to what is it that you want? Like I literally was just working with a client who was his internal dialogue was caught in that he said, Carmel, I can easily picture what I used to do that I don't want to do. But when it comes to the future, I feel blocked. And this person's very, very intelligent, comes from, a successful background. His family is very successful. I won't name what they do, but um, it's interesting how sometimes people just get stuck with that. And it comes back to if they feel deserving or not, if they can have the foresight that they are able to do this just like anyone else. And it starts with self esteem in that case. I believe that when somebody's self esteem is a little bit off kilter, they almost unconsciously, it's not a conscious thing, it's unconscious. They don't think that they deserve, and that therefore they can't see, they can't begin to fantasize. And I invite people to just pretend like that fantasy of when you were 5 or 6 years old, using your imagination, and then project it onto something in your future.
Okay, now you opened up like three things. Um, do you see the book over here called Traction? Are you familiar at all with that?
No, I'm not. Is that Tony Robbins as well?
It's not. Traction is actually it's a entrepreneurial operating system.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like a system to develop uh, for a smaller business, small to medium business, how to run a business, basically, starting with core values, but all the way to like exactly how to run the 1 90-minute meeting that you have per week, and how, who you need to have in the right places, and how you find the right people for the right places, and how you get rid of them when the whole thing, nuts to bolts. So great book. But one of the things they talk in there, and the subsequent book to it is called Rocket Fuel. And it's really about the two players, one being the visionary, the other being the implementer. It's
Yes,
called the integrator right here.
I love that. I used Elon Musk as an example.
Yeah.
So the visionary, would love using him as an example. And it doesn't have to be him, but just as an example, he had the vision, I want to put a man on the moon. And the layperson, what do I need to do in order to get there? And so then you have um, the big picture, and then you ask the details. What do I need to do? What are the steps? Where do I get the resources? Who is it in my resource desk that can accommodate the science, the money, the whatever? So it's in alignment with what you're saying, having the vision and then backtracking to seeing the steps and how to get there.
Yeah, yeah. And they're both, and if you have a really good visionary and a really good integrator, that's where the rocket fuel happens. They just feed each other and go off. There's a fun story about Henry Ford. Have you heard this one where they had him on trial? Do you
Go
know?
ahead. I don't know if I have or not.
Oh, so he was on trial actually. And I think they were kind of trying to say that he wasn't smart enough, he wasn't good enough to be who he was. And they said, they're trying to kind of get at him like, well, tell us how this works in a car. Tell us how this works in a car. And he's like, you know what? Here's the deal. I sit at a desk, and if a problem comes to me that I don't know, I have a whole row of buttons, and I
Mhm.
push the button, and the right person with the right answer will be in my office within 5 minutes. Is that I don't have to know all the answers because I have the people that know the answers. And I think that that's related as well. Is that the
Yeah.
story?
Yes, no, I haven't heard that story, but that completely is like what we're saying. He had the poor vision to see everything needed to be there in case he needed to go and get into the details of what the answer needed to be,
Yeah.
right? If you have a
Oh,
car, you have the car, then you have the engine, then you have the lug nuts and all of it that needs to run in order. But you don't need to know how to put the lug nuts together to dream about the future car.
yeah. I just actually thought of another one. It's like, so Jesus was kind of the visionary, and then you've got Peter and Paul. They're kind of the integrators.
There you go. Yeah. And
Peter for the
that's a
Peter for
team.
the Jewish folks and Paul for the everybody else, and there you go.
The dream team.
So yeah, it's a but to that point, you've talked even at the beginning we were talking about vision and the ability to be a vision. Um, I'm a visionary for sure. I'm not an integrator for sure. Um, is everybody a visionary? Does everybody
Oh,
be?
no. There are people that are really hyper focused on detail is how we say it. They're more systems based and they'll literally just notice all these details and it's very important for them to have all these things in a row, perhaps. And the hardest part for someone that is only like that mindset is to get them to the vision. And so we want to be able to do both. When I'm helping clients, I'm not training them to have a separate group. We want them to be able to integrate both. So like if I have a business, the ideal of the second office that I'm in today happened during COVID.
Mhm.
And so I had the vision. I was like, well, everybody's locked in and there's going to be more stress. I called my mentor. I said, am I crazy or is this an opportunity? He's like, you're not crazy at all. And that's how that was born. Because my mind just went future, more stress. How do we help people? And they're trapped at home, online Zoom. I had found this location coincidentally, even though I don't believe in coincidences. I believe that once we start looking for something, we'll find it. Kind of like a Google search. Our mind will bring
Mhm.
the awareness to what was always there. And but in answering your question, it is uncommon that people have both. Very uncommon.
Yeah.
So, but it is a teachable process.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm running a summit again. I've done it before where I bring together top entrepreneurs to pour into wannabe or starting entrepreneurs or people that need a fresh start, some fresh what got you here won't get you there kind of messaging. And the oh, what you just said, and now I just boom, lost it. The
We're talking about the
yes.
seeing the vision during COVID.
Oh, right. And right on my website, it says 41% of Americans dream of owning a business or dream of being entrepreneurial, not having a boss. By the
Mhm.
way, I tried that again recently. It didn't work. Um,
It's
I just
like, yes,
can't do it. But only 9%
right.
actually file taxes, tax day, by the way,
Yes.
as self-employed.
For me.
So so 9%, that's a 32 something like that percent gap.
Yeah.
Third of Americans means that they have a job, but think and I'm not saying just because you think that you want to be an entrepreneur. Once you realize sometimes what's involved, beans and rice,
Right.
um, it's not what everybody thinks. Oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and boom, I'm going to own a yacht.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Oh no, probably not is right. I will be very transparent here. Being that hairdresser that I was talking about earlier, I lost my career because I
Mm,
didn't know how to be my own business person. So I
mm,
was sort of working with a company that wasn't paying me. They were kind of freelancing us and wanting us to follow a certain business structure, but without pay. So I was kind of my hands were tied and how to market and didn't know how. I didn't have the resources. So the transition going into a new field and learning how to market was really scary. That's why people don't do it. So if you have the resources or the teaching, the step by step and how to do this, it can be copied and emulated. So
mm.
kudos to what you're doing. I definitely help people train in how to market themselves, whether it be in our own industry or others, because there is a formula
Yeah.
if you just follow it. And that's why I went back to that conversation on modeling. You want to follow what successful is, not, reinventing the wheel in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then it takes the fear away. And to have someone to feed back to you and correct or just keep you going is very important as well.
I had the blessing of studying under Isaac Duran or Israel Duran, Isaac, Israel Duran in the past week. And one of the things that he trained on and talked about, I just really meant a lot to me, was he talked about the four levels of service.
Mhm.
And starting with, in particular, in the industry of working with other people, one being coach, where you're really there to draw out what's already in the other person.
Mhm.
This another level is consultant, where the person says, ouch, fix my shoulder.
Mhm.
And you go in and you fix the shoulder. You tell them what they can do. Work with them temporarily. I'm not saying a shoulder particular, but whatever it is in their business that
What
hurts.
is it, the issue that needs
Right. And
mending?
then the third level, though, when he said this word, everything in me said, yes. Because it's exactly, I just never resonated with the coach or consultant. And that third level is strategist. And
Right.
because that makes sense. Because I'm a total systems person, which is so funny because I'm also a visionary and I'm terrible at.
Visionary and stress. Yeah. Yeah. But you're right in that you have the steps that you need to do in order to create your vision. So that's the strategy. Yep.
Yeah, and to help others do the same thing. For instance, podcasting.
Yeah.
I have as you've experienced, I have a pretty concrete system that I follow to make this all happen. And
Yes.
it really does happen almost on automation.
Mhm.
And now people have come to me and said, I want to purchase your system. Guess what? It's for sale. So, and it's fun because I know that I'm getting them going in a path that I found a lot of joy in. So
Yes.
it's
And
a
it's
win-win. Yes.
legitimate and useful and it's lucrative. So it's important
Yep.
that we do whatever we're doing for others, I believe automatically will kind of spill over into our own world as well.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And another point that he brought up is that, when people say, well, I need it for free. Okay, great. What if you get everything you need for free
Mhm.
and build a business on all free things, all free teaching, all free tools, all free whatever, and you build your business? Are you going to charge
Mhm.
what you've gained for free?
Mhm.
Or, do you charge because we all pay?
Yeah.
I paid a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely, I'm still with my mentor, and there I wouldn't have it any other way. And that is so important. Like with people that come into my office, I always do like a free consultation.
Sure.
Of course,
Different.
yeah, totally different. However, there's a metaphor that I like to use. This is- if I'm actually holding a pen, just coincidentally, but if you give someone a pen and you say, this pen is just something that I found in my purse and it was like 10 cents, and give it to someone, the value of what they give that pen will probably be tossed away. They don't know or keep track of it. But if I say to you, LeAnn, this pen costs $3,000. Oh, so if you, and it's just a pen, but what giving gives it worth
Yeah,
and paying.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think back to worth, you just said the word worth and you've talked about it. A lot of people struggle with worth. Oh,
Mhm.
I'm not worth charging that much money, but
Mhm.
that's a whole level of things you can talk to. I'm actually reading a book right now about habit. You
Yeah.
mentioned, and it's really talks in the beginning of it about good habit, bad habit. But most people think of habit as bad.
Mhm.
They think only habits are always bad habits, but they don't really think as much about almost everything we do.
Is a
Almost
habit,
everything
almost
is
everything.
a habit.
Yeah.
My
Yes.
habit of talking with my hands is a habit. I could break it. I don't want to.
Oh, it's nice. I just finally learned not to as much, but Italian.
Well, ironically, they do say in terms of video, now that we're learning more, that
Yeah,
more movement, boom, 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 is more engagement and keeps the eye tracking with
yeah.
the speaker if they do move around a little bit, even
There's uh there's
good.
we are trained also in spatial anchoring when presenting on stage. And
Yes,
that's a whole other science and strategy. It's very fun to learn how to do that as well.
I want to know more about that.
It's
But
very
I have to get back to another question that you brought up earlier because this is kind of my core, like what I like to know. You mentioned, helping people go back to when they were, the 5 or 6.
Mhm.
What did you play? What did you do? 5 or 6 is a little young, but when you were like that 8, 9, probably too young to get dropped off at the mall, but not too young to be let out of sight, right?
Well, I don't know. I think now I'm really probably aging myself, but when I was in the first grade, let's say around that time,
Yeah.
uh, my parents, were immigrants, legal immigrants.
Really?
Uh, and my mom had my sibling who was a couple years younger that she had to take to one school because he was in kindergarten, I believe. And my school was a completely different direction. So I literally would walk home by myself for several miles in the first grade. That's unheard of now, like
No,
by
no.
myself. So I have these early memories of walking around like a railroad track or walking into the grocery market and seeing what I could get, and like all these things that I would do very young. Um, so my experience of, if I was to observe the young self that I had, was actually I was an overthinker. I was left too much on my own, and processing the world without a lot of feedback. That now looking back made my life and some of the choices that I had to make more challenging because I was not used to receiving feedback from, let's say, a coach or a trainer. So I'm always tying what happened in our past and bringing it to the future. Um, Imagination, I don't recall. I think that I was just very concerned with my environment, almost like a survival thing.
Mhm.
Um,
So
and
there was play though.
there probably was, but my mother had us very disciplined with the house and it was kept clean. And that's my personal story. Anyway, so
No, let's
there
go.
was a little bit of playing, of course, but coming from a sheltered immigrated family, there's a lot of fear. And so probably not as free as some kids might have experienced their life. Freedom in some places too much, where I was left on my own.
Yeah.
So I'm helping people use their imagination if they have that experience of playfulness. Sometimes it's not there. So it
Yes.
just depends on the individual.
So what was your happy place? What was your happy place when you were in, let's say, a little bit older, 9, 8?
Well, I always felt very safe and protected when my dad was around and he would play with us and having experience playing on the street,
Yeah.
that's sort of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
so that's a good place to be. That
for sure.
was
I remember playing teacher. I remember playing school.
yeah.
I became a teacher.
There you go.
And I remember organizing things and choreographing things.
Right.
And what I find interesting, and especially with your background too, and I found this a lot with a lot of my guests, that when I ask them to think back, what did you play? What did you do? That we can find very strong correlations to their happiness today, if they're in some way, shape, or form doing something relatable to where they found their happiness and joy at a younger age as well.
Mhm. It usually patterns can be copied and modeled. I'm in the business of if there wasn't a lot of happiness to change that.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and that some people just don't have that kind of early experience, and it's okay. We don't make it wrong. We take what was useful out of the experience and then apply it into the future, the useful lessons or the useful strategies that people had. But ideally, you want to fantasize. Ideally, you want to have this creative, like you're mentioning, the playfulness, that energy. I think, because you're asking the question, I'm kind of backtracking. My dad was a very playful person, and I learned how to have fun with children and engage in activities that are just kind of like having fun. Uh, yeah, just being in the moment and enjoying life.
Oh, wait. And my introduction, didn't I say something about being present? That's your thing?
Yes, yeah, yes.
And
When
it's
we're
still is.
playing, yes. When we're playing, we're definitely in the moment. Yes,
It
playful.
was then, it is now. Very cool. Yeah, I also grew up, more or less latchkey because we grew up and we're one of the first generations to have, parents with double incomes.
Yeah,
And also I had the freedom and the safety
yeah,
to walk, it's probably a good mile, mile and a half to the bookstore and back. And that
mhm,
was my happy place, was reading also. You
yeah,
know, getting
yeah.
a new book and reading a book. That was my happy, still is.
Yeah.
And but I walked to the store and back along a busy street over a freeway all alone every week with my allowance in hand.
Crazy to think now that as so young that we were fine to do that. Now it's just not that kind of world. It's a little different.
It's a little different.
Yeah.
And
And perhaps maybe those things were going on anyway, but because we hear more through media, through social media, um,
yeah, a
it's our awareness is more there.
little bit too much connection without connection.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Well, we have gone over our normal half hour, which is phenomenal. I do
Uh,
want to give you a chance, though. Who are you working with? How can people reach you? Are you on social media or people want to connect with you and ask questions? Then we're going to go off camera and finish up. So, anybody watching live stream, this is your cue. Come on over. Join us on winwinwomen.tv while she gives us her contact information and log in. You'll be able to jump right onto the show, come right into the Zoom. And then when we close here, if you have questions for either of us, you're welcome to come on live and talk with us. So that'll be fun. So just offering that. But Carmela, can you please tell people where can
yes.
they find you or who
Yes.
should find you?
Okay, so I think you can even see on the bottom of the frame here, Mind Flow Hypnosis is one of my business names, But if you were just to Google Carmela Tunzi, my name pops up just about everywhere. I've done some, lots of social media with that. Facebook, Carmela Tunzi, you can follow. Definitely on LinkedIn, Instagram, MF Hypnosis or Carmela Tunzi there as well. I definitely do all my interaction with people. So if you message me or call me, you could expect me to answer. No one else is answering the phones for me or any of that. Um, Pretty much help people, everyday, ordinary people wanting to change their habits, everything from weight management to stop smoking, stress management, fears, phobias, and do teach people how to do this for a career as well. Master trainer, not master trainer, but trainer, part of the Master Hypnotist Society, international organization, and a lot of information, always giving our clients as much as we can. We have free weekly conference calls as well, done by my mentor, to all our clients that are interested, and a Facebook group, Master Hypnotist Society.
Lots of connection. And like
Yes,
I said, it's awesome. And I'm so grateful that you're here today. I hope that we'll have future connection as well. Maybe work together on a summit.
I would love
And
it. Yes.
and you'd given us some great tools and things that we can talk about and think about. We talked today about, also what is expected tends to be realized. We didn't dive into that deeply, but
Yes. Yes.
threads of what we talked about here today in that as well. And that everything is just the reflection of your perception. So,
Yes. Looks like you're on my Facebook page.
ah,
Almost. Those some of the exact quotes I do.
well, thank you so much. We're going to wrap up here. So, and then we will be continuing the conversation privately. So jump on over to winwinwomen.tv. Thank you for joining me on this journey to unleash your joyful business potential. Remember, leadership is a voyage we take together. So keep shining and aligning with your purpose. Come on back next and every week at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, exclusively on winwinwomen.tv for our next inspiring episode. So until next time, this is LeAnn, your Chief Joy Officer and Strategist, signing off. We'll keep leading with heart, and I'll catch you on the next wave of success. Farewell, and keep spreading the joy.